chat command and you see I don't have any GM powers activated. So
Digga.
today we play it all nice and fair.
Cooldown
Yes,
eine
thank you,
Stunde, get
Piccolo.
farmed to death.
And that's a great point. We're going in fair and square. We don't have any super crazy overpowered gear. We're not using a ton of additional items or anything. So we're just going to be going in and seeing how much we can get done in this dungeon. All right, I have started the timer, guys. So go ahead and talk to the
Hier hört man Piccolo einfach gar
Leren
nicht.
Chasm dungeon NPC and join the dungeon.
One moment. I'm as loud as I could.
Pick_Steamwalker erreicht Level 3.
Cannot go
Pick, vielen Dank für deinen Sub. Vielen Dank.
on the stream.
Oder Piccolo verstehst du einfach gar nicht,
You
ne?
cannot hear me.
Also selbst wenn du hörst, die Soundqualität vom... Der hat es nicht geschafft, sich ein ordentliches Mikrofon für 50 Euro zu
No
holen
worries
oder
at all,
was.
Piccolo. If we need to, we can always transcribe your words to the wonderful people since we can hear you.
Wonderful.
Oder Millionen Unternehmen steht
We've
dahinter,
got our
ne?
group here ready to go. And once again, our composition, we've got 2 tanks. We have 3 assists, which are going to be helping supply buffs to the group, as well as doing circle healing. We also have 1 assist, Toffee, who's going to be using Moonbeam. That's going to give us a lot of significant damage, as well as some damage support for our single target.
Ich mach mal kurz Stopp. Man sieht auch zum Beispiel, also ich weiß nicht, da steht ein Millionen-Dollar-Unternehmen dahinter, was Millionen Umsätze fast monatlich macht. Und der schafft sich nicht, einen Rechner ranzuholen, wo die Textur ein bisschen hochgeregelt ist. Das ist alles. Guck doch mal die Qualität an, wie ekelhaft das aussieht. Oder ist es jetzt einfach nur wegen Twitch 1080p? Ja, und die Soundqualität und alles, ey, das kann doch nicht wahr sein, ne? Es kann doch nicht wahr sein. Ich verstehe auch nicht, warum sie nicht. Blugi ist ja offensichtlich jetzt der Hauptpart vom Sprechen her und alles. Gott sei Dank. Ich verstehe aber nicht, warum nicht gleich Blugi streamt, sondern wir immer noch die Sicht von Piccolo haben. Ich dachte zuerst, dass Blugi heute übernimmt. Voice-technisch auf jeden Fall merkt man, dass sie sich daran orientieren, aber trotzdem, also Entschuldigung. Sehr hat Missy da an. Ich weiß nicht.
The new dungeon music.
Oh, wir haben jetzt auf jeden Fall was verpasst mit Pause, ist kacke. Nee, danke für dein Follow.
No worries.
I really love this new music. I think it was Cameron who did it. Not too sure.
Awesome. So far, so good. You guys can see that we're able to, as a group of 8, pretty easily get through these monsters. But you will notice that every monster sort of has something about it that makes it a little bit special. So, for instance, here, these deep cave gorillas
Hupsixe
have a
erreicht
double
Level
hit.
1.
You guys may be familiar with that mechanic from monsters like the Wheelums. So whoever is taking those hits from the gorillas are going to have to be extra careful.
Ja, Double Hits hatten sie auch damals bei Caldera.
Awesome.
Also,
And you may have seen a green drop. Was that a PK chip, guys?
Wait a moment, I don't hear the music at all.
No, it wasn't. It was just like a piece of armor.
Oh, okay. Got it. Well, keep your eyes out, guys. Hopefully, we'll have some PK chips to drop from these monsters, and we can tell you a little bit about what's to come.
Oder so ein Boomer.
We won't reveal everything, but we can give some sneak peeks here and there.
We got our first death.
Oh, our first death of the dungeon. Man down.
Down. Der macht das erste Mal was und greift das erste Mal irgendwie an, nachdem er am Sound rumgespielt hat, eine halbe Stunde. Und stirbt direkt. Ja, wenn er keinen God-Mode mehr hat. Digga, ist das geil. Shit happens, ja.
Absolutely. All right, man. This is wild, guys. We've got 3 circle healing healers. We've got Moonbeam. Oh, we've got it. Now we've got a pack of 4 gorillas. Let's see how we do here, but it's going to be a little touch and go. Thankfully, Azoku Light has Blink Pool and can kite the gorilla away from us a little bit. Cameron's actually tanking pretty well. Cameron, are you a mixed build or are you full strength?
Mixed.
Mixed, okay. Awesome. You can see here, we're doing our best to use the resources that we have. Even at this level, there is a lot on the table. So for instance, the mercenaries can use our attack Shield Bash to stun the enemies. We have Moonbeam, which is going to increase the damage they take. So bringing a varied group that can apply a lot of different debuffs will make this much, much easier.
Ist besser so von der Lautstärke her? Oder zu laut jetzt wieder?
And you can see Cameron here is nice and brave. He's just grabbing what he can find. And honestly, we're kind of making quick work of these gorillas.
Plucky hat eine mega gute Stimme. Er ist eigentlich perfekt dafür. Ich verstehe nicht, warum es aus Piccolos Sicht ist.
Well, running this dungeon with only like 3-4 people would
Viel
be
besser, okay, super.
a bit complicated in its current state.
Yeah,
Definitely.
It's all a work in progress anyway, it's fine.
Ja, noch lauter.
For sure.
A dungeon where you can run solo with one.
Definitely. And of course, something to keep in mind, we are playing on a test server today, guys. So just keep in mind that everything that you see is a work in progress. It may not have final values, it may not have final balancing, but we're just here to give you a sneak peek at kind of what's to come and some of what you can expect to see in the upcoming expansion.
Piccolo ist doch kein Dev, oder? Nee, ist er nicht. Wird wahrscheinlich einfach den Dev-Titel da irgendwie haben, weil er Rechte hat oder sowas im Spiel.
And you can see here that we do have a 1 hour time limit on these dungeons. So you may be able to, in theory, survive with only 3 or 4 people. But the more people you have, the quicker you're going to be able to get through these dungeons and more successfully and more consistently. So the more varied groups that you bring with all the different toolkits that all the classes provide, I think the better off you're going to be in the end.
Wird sowieso jeder Solo durchrennen. Und welche machen sich Chars Level 30 mit plus 10 Set und dann vorher die krassen Buffs
Piccolo, do you think you
durchgegeben.
might be able to zoom out just a little bit?
Of course.
Awesome, thank you.
Ja, die Texturen sehen so schlimm aus. Man kann da nicht die Qualitäten
Yeah,
so
that's a great
hochschrauben.
question. Happy Chicken Feet asks, is there a min and max level for this dungeon? Yes. This dungeon has a minimum level of 16 and a maximum level of 30. So that means between those levels you can enter. However, you could see as a full group of 30 that it's still relatively challenging. We do have a full 8-person group, which makes it a lot easier. But if you come in here at level 16, level 20 by yourself, you're definitely going to have a hard time. Now, these, you may have noticed that we are gaining experience. These monsters do give experience. It's still being balanced. But you can expect this to be another way to gain a little bit of experience while you're trying to go for those item rewards as well.
Ranger kann nicht, also das Maximallevel von dem Dungeon, den wir jetzt sehen,
Unicorn
ist
has
Level
another great
30.
question. The monsters look skippable. Are there plans to prevent a skip? I think currently it kind of depends dungeon to dungeon. You'll notice that we have a list of objectives on the screen. Every dungeon has different objectives. For instance, like all of the objectives you see today may not actually be final. So some dungeons might have objectives where you need to kill a certain set of enemies and then you kill some mid bosses. Oh, we're getting into a little bit of trouble here. Cameron's doing a good job of kiting. We're going to try to throw some shield bash stuns out. Nice. It looks like we're able to split it up pretty well. Yonusagi, and Azoku are currently doing some kiting. Well done there. We just got 2 gorillas left.
Dark Ulu ist auf Level
Great job,
35.
everybody. Yeah, that was
We
great.
have it under control.
Die schreiben denen, als wenn das ein
Recovery.
Grafik umstellen soll. Ja, na, es sieht ja auch kacke aus, also ganz
I
ehrlich.
can't wait for Mythic Plus. Yeah, you never know what's to come, but definitely a lot of exciting things could be done with these dungeons and the dungeon system. But to finish answering the question about skips, I think
Ja.
it'll depend on the dungeon.
Set-
Some dungeons will
set
require you to kill
Cartoon-Grafik.
more
Jetzt macht
of
das,
the
jetzt
trash
macht das.
monsters. Some of them will require you to focus on the mid bosses. So it's probably a dungeon by dungeon basis, and we'll just be kind of figuring it out from there.
Digga.
Can we see the dungeon with cartoon graphics?
Oh, okay. Sure. If you want. You like to
Okay,
see
so here's a great question, and I believe the answer is no, but I'll, maybe someone else in our group can answer this question. Can
sieht das
you
kacke
de-level
aus,
to
Digga.
enter a dungeon? So, like, if you're level 31 and you de-level to level 30, are you able to re-enter
Gott,
this?
sieht das schlimm aus. Kann man da auch mit
That's a very
gedownloadeten
good question.
Charakteren rein?
That's a very good question. We have not tried it yet.
So I think that's probably something on our menu of testing items while we work on getting this expansion balanced and ready for the players. But yeah, that's a great question. That's definitely something to keep in mind, and we'll have to consider that, and hopefully we'll know pretty soon. Oh yeah, P Flume, another great question. First, Jan, did you have something to add?
Oh yeah, I was just going to say that it would be a very bad idea to let people de-level with like very good gear to go do low-level dungeons. I think that's something to keep in mind.
Sure, but yeah, we can all discuss that kind of stuff internally. I think here for stream we can just focus on what we know, and we can kind of discuss all the other
Sie hat, was
stuff
im Dungeon gedroppt wird.
with our group and the staff.
Wir haben gesagt Karten, also ich glaube
sure.
Waffen, für die Waffensocklung Karten.
But yeah, we have a lot of great questions today, everybody.
Aber das werden wir natürlich hoffentlich am Ende sehen, ne?
Was about how often, so how many runs you can do in a limited time frame. The current cooldown on these dungeons is balanced to be 1 hour. So in theory, if it takes you exactly 1 hour to complete these dungeons, then you could just run them over and over again. However, say you are really efficient and you finish it in 30 minutes, you'll have to wait 30 minutes in between your run until your timer expires. So hopefully that answers that question. Basically, you can do 1 dungeon per hour.
Und da scheint auch der Cooldown des Dungeon erst zu starten, oder startet dann, wenn du reingekommen bist, und scheinbar nicht, wenn du den Boss besiegt hast, wie wir es jetzt zurzeit haben, was natürlich besser ist.
Here, you cannot just go straight to the boss. You need to fight those monsters first before you can fight the boss.
Yes, that's a great point. In fact, the mid bosses, so we have, let's kind of explain the architecture and the design of these dungeons. So you'll notice that so far we have been fighting sort of the lower level enemies. They have less mechanics, less crazy things about them. And as you clear them, eventually, once you clear enough, what we talked about before, the mid boss or the mid bosses will spawn after a certain point. And when these mid bosses spawn, you can kind of think of them like a lower level boss. They'll have some mechanics, but they'll likely be significantly easier than, say, the final boss. So you have your normal enemies, you have your mid bosses, which sometimes there may be actually several in a dungeon. In the case of this dungeon, you can see that we have the Queen Longlegs and the Night Mist Empress. So this dungeon has 2 mid bosses, followed by the final boss. So
Also ganz ehrlich, ich sehe es auch so, je nachdem, wie wichtig die Drops sind, werden Leute einfach sich einen 30er Char machen, dann 30er Set, plus 8, plus 10 und dann mit einem Char, der irgendwie plus 15 und noch mehr in Skalierung, also ein Ringmaster hat, vorm Dungeon immer durchbuffen. Wenn die da drin, die Buffs nicht gewiped werden, dann sprintest du da einfach mit deiner Sprintrolle durch, die ganzen Scheiß auf die Aggros, farmst nur die Bossen ab. Allein durch die Buffs eines Ringmasters, der irgendwie Level 120 plus ist. Oh nein, Piccolo spielt mit den Einstellungen rum. Oh mein Gott.
30 and 25%. If I were to level up, that would not stop me from being able to complete the dungeon. However, I would be outside of the dungeon range. So after completing this dungeon, I would, at the moment, currently be unable to re-enter this specific dungeon. Remake says, it looks like you get very good experience in there. So will you outlevel this dungeon pretty quick? Have you considered this? I think it's definitely part of the balancing conversation. We're definitely trying to find the right amount of experience to get. And currently, as of now, you will outlevel these dungeons. But just remember that everything is not final. We're still in testing stages. So plenty more to come on that.
Creator AA, Dankeschön für deinen Sub. Und Dark Illo mit Akrobat kannst du nicht durchrennen. Der Dungeon ist mit Level 30 capped. Über Level 30 kannst du nicht mehr in den Dungeon rein. Und Dark Illo ist erst für Level 35.
Space Sonic, hello. Another great question about the card rewards. So today we won't see any card drops. So once again, all the drops, etc., are not final here. But Yes, these are the dungeons where you will be getting piercing cards, and specifically the new weapon piercing cards. So that's all the cards which have 4 ranks, D, C, B, and A. And this is how you'll get them from these dungeons. Lower level dungeons have a higher chance to drop lower cards, and higher level dungeons have a chance to drop the higher cards. So, for instance, in this dungeon, this is a level 30 dungeon. You won't, at least as of now, you won't have an opportunity to get, say, an A tier card from a level 30 dungeon, but you could get, say, a D tier card, maybe a C tier card if you're very, very lucky. So, yes, you will be able to get the highest piercing cards for weapons from these dungeons. In fact, that's the mechanic of these dungeons, is that they drop the piercing cards. And you'll be able to get the A cards. So you won't be going to a card vendor or anything like that to try to upgrade B to A. You'll just work through the dungeons and get them that way.
Also, wie die Karten für die Waffensockelung kriegen wir nur von den Dungeon. Und umso höher der Dungeon von der Level, umso höher ist die Chance, eine hohe Karte zu bekommen. Also, Digga, dann farmt doch den Dungeon sowieso keiner. Was soll ich mit einer D-Karte?
Cameron, did you have something to add?
I was just saying end to open the minimum.
Gotcha. Yeah, another really great question. Dudu asks, can several parties go in at the same time? Will every party have a separate instance? Man, this is a great question, and I'm glad you asked this. So, these dungeons are using a brand new feature that really is going to revolutionize the way that you do group content in Life Universe. It is using a brand new instance system. So, you will no longer have to do things like wait for a dungeon to be available in order to do that
ich mach doch
dungeon as a
nicht.
group. As many parties
Ich benutze doch keine E-Pro-Text, um eine D-Karte auf C irgendwie zu machen, oder? Also dann farm ich doch gleich die hohen Dungeons, wo ich B- und A-Karten droppen kann. Also das ist doch, also, oder?
And I think that actually that probably leads into a few questions about how the instance system works, etc. And I don't know if we can answer all of those questions now, but there are probably a few things that we can clarify. So you may ask, okay, well, how is the instance destroyed? So if you run out of time, the instance will be destroyed after some time because you'll no longer be able to enter. And I believe also if everyone in the group, so you can actually leave this dungeon in the middle of the group. So say like Cameron dies and he decides to load light, he can fly back while everybody else is still doing this. And he can still join the dungeon. Now, if everyone were to leave after some time of having no players inside an instance, that instance will be destroyed. So, if everybody does die and has to use load light, you still have time to fly back. But if you're gone for too long, the instance will be destroyed. Hopefully that helps kind of understand how the instance system works and what you can expect.
Piccolo, Nummer 2.
Oh no.
Why?
Do you not use food?
Huh?
Are you not using food?
Der hat nicht mal,
You're not
I
healing?
just had full energy. And then
der hat nicht mal
died.
Food bei.
All right, another great question from Hobie. Does the cooldown timer start when entering the dungeon and not on kill? That is correct. So as soon as you enter, the dungeon will begin. So, there are some instances that you may recognize from like Life PC where you had a timer that was sort of like a preparation timer. Those don't exist in these dungeons. So,
Wie sie ihm die ganze Zeit schreiben, was machen soll mit den Piccolo, please turn on advanced shaders, depth of field, bloom, water quality.
Why don't you change the cooldown of everything to 23
Patrick
hours instead of
23611 erreicht Level
Patrick.
2.
Dankeschön für deinen Sub. Vielen Dank. Pico Death Counter, ja, 2 hat er schon, Digga. Und er hat nicht mal, er hat kein Food bei. Er hat einfach kein Food bei. Oder? Ja, der ist so lost. Der ist so fucking lost, Digga. Die schreiben ihn schon, dass er die Settings hochschrauben soll und sowas alles. Ja, guck mal, das Wasser sieht ja nicht mal geil aus. Das sieht kacke aus. Das sieht aus wie immer. God Mount off ist gleich Noobs. Ist so. Digga, es ist so unangenehm, ihm zuzuschauen. Wo sind seine 500 Cookies denn hin, ja, die er für 1 Milliarde gekauft hat?
change after, you know,
Das ist so
balancing and testing,
unangenehm.
but that is how the
Warum ist er denn
dungeons are
so?
balanced at the moment.
Geil.
This is a proper time cooldown.
Das ist eigentlich nur arbeiten, aber ich kann nicht.
Oh, Remake has another great question. Guys, you got a lot of questions. There's definitely a lot of content stuff we want to talk about, but I'm going to make answering your questions a priority. And then, you know, if we do have any in-between time for the questions, we can talk about some of the other new content-related things. So Remake
Der
asked- Oh, go
Giganti.
ahead, Piccolo.
Alter, wieso streamt der gefühlt 70 Jahre alt ist? Ah.
So Remake has a question. Will the mid and in bosses have the same speed buff after running away like giants? Great question. I believe they do. Cameron, can you confirm that?
Sorry, what was that?
Do they have the speed buff that giants have, the mid bosses? They do, correct?
I think they do, yeah.
Jetzt hat er gleich,
Yep,
läuft
as
er
far
mit
as I know,
20
they
FPS
do,
rum.
We'd have to
just
check on
like
that.
giants do. Yeah, but we'll double check, and we can confirm that. Follow up in Discord or something, and let people know. Do the new monsters here drop new items? Okay, great. So this is something that I definitely want to talk about. But first, guys,
Oh,
look,
Bossmonster.
our first boss.
Oh, Piccolo, der ist tot.
Here we go, guys. The Queen Longlegs has spawned, and we are fighting our
Can you
very
pull it away
first
from the
mid
rock?
boss.
I cannot hit it.
No worries, we're gonna pull him away. Here you go,
Thank you.
everybody.
9000 HP
Now
ist
you
aber
can
nicht
see
viel.
that these mid bosses are pretty tough. They've got new mechanics.
Yeah,
But keep in mind, currently they're not on the test server, so we showed you an example of visually what you might expect. But in terms of mechanics, they have not all been added to the test server yet.
90.000, aber da
So
hat eine Null
that's
gefehlt, ne?
visually what you can expect. You can expect the mid bosses to spawn after you've killed a certain amount of enemies and completed a task in the dungeon, and they're going to be more difficult than a normal enemy, but less
Sure.
difficult than the final boss.
these guys hit twice.
Yep, so just like the gorillas, these have a double hit. So these night mists are going to be extra dangerous. So,
Küb de Puss, hi. Danke für dein Follow.
Sure you don't end up like Blookie right now.
yeah, don't
Oh,
end up like
Blookie.
me.
Oh,
Oh,
like
and
me.
Piccolo.
Ah,
All right, let's.
Ja, Patrick.
I see nothing wrong. We can
Weiß ich ja
just
dann,
continue.
genau. Da ist
Ja,
90.000
Cameron's
schon
here, we're
echt viel, ne?
All right, guys, before we continue, let's go ahead and resurrect and rebuff, regroup.
Yeah, rebuff.
yeah.
Awesome. So, to answer the question about new monsters with new drops, the answer is yes. And that actually brings me to a few topics. So, when we talk about items, we're not talking about new weapons or new
Sie hat noch
gear that will
gewiped
replace
werden.
your current gear. Don't expect to have any new progression items. The only form of progression that you will get from these dungeons are the piercing cards. So that is what you can expect in terms of vertical progression. But there are new items that will drop from these enemies. And maybe, Piccolo, can you just zoom in real quick on Cameron and myself?
Of course. When I see you.
Wonderful.
There
So,
it is.
Die Heads.
Yep, and we want to show
die-
off the weapon that Cameron has, as well as the hats that we are wearing. So if you guys look closely, you can see that Cameron has an axe that you may not have seen before. It looks very familiar to a
Good.
monster's axe that you
Well,
may
from
recognize
good.
from the Dead Wilderness. So that's all
Yeah.
I'll say for the hint as of now. But you may have seen in the
Good
media channel
axe, yeah.
in Discord that there are new weapon skins that will drop from these monsters in here. So you can expect to have a new way to gain cosmetics in all of the dungeons. And the devs have done a lot of amazing work to bring new weapon skins, new cosmetics in the form of like helmets, etc., to you guys through the dungeons. So plenty of opportunities to get some cool cosmetics that way. You'll also notice that Cameron and myself have a Mushpang cap. Now, Mushpangs are not a dungeon monster. Those are overworld monsters. So that leads us into the conversation about new drops for old monsters. So
Die drehen den Spieß einfach um. Du willst besseres Gear haben und sowas? Kauf unsere Rollen im Cash-Shop. Zahl echtes Geld. Du willst Skins und sowas alles haben? Spiel das Spiel.
that you see
Hä?
Cameron and myself wearing today.
Also ist es nicht
So,
andersrum,
this is really
Cosmetics in
powerful.
den
It means it's
Cash Shop
gonna give
rein
you
und
reasons
alles,
to
was
go
so
back
zum
and
Verbessern
fight
ist,
those
in
enemies.
die Dungeons, oder?
All right. Before anyone picks up that,
Ah,
so
and the next one
this
down.
actually this is a great opportunity. Piccolo, do you think you could hover over that green thing and we can talk
Not
about what that
close.
is?
That's a
Oh, ein
PK
PK-Chip.
Yes, a PK chip. So we're gonna sidebar the Mushpang hat conversation so we can talk about the PK chip and the PK system. Now we're not going to go into depth on the PK system today, but you guys will see that because we are on the PK channel, when you die, you actually drop some portion of your PK chips, and these new chips are part of the revamp for the PK system that you'll be able to use to do various things. We won't go into depth on that system today, but just wanted to highlight that while you are on the PK server, you will be able to earn these PK chips, but if you die on the PK server, you can lose the chips as well.
Okay,
In a
yeah.
future update at some point, we will tell you more about the system, but there's a little sneak peek of how that works. So back to the Mushpang topic. So old enemies will have new cosmetics you can
Ich glaube,
go and
das
farm
ist,
at
die
a
haben
very
einfach
low
1:1
rate.
das
It should be
PK-System
very
von
rare and
Buckets.
sought after.
I would say
If you like the
Buckets so
Mushpang
far.
hat, definitely
Der
look
ein oder
forward to
andere kennt
going
ihn vielleicht vom
and farming
Discord.
some Mushpangs. But you know, lots more than just the Mushpang
Da hat er schon
element.
erläutert, wie das PK-System so sein sollte und sowas
Oh man, we
alles.
are getting slaughtered by these numbers.
Und ich denke mal, die haben das wahrscheinlich 1:1 einfach so übernommen, wie er es beschrieben hatte, weil es war gar nicht so schlecht. Ah, der hat die Niki, bester. Einfach den Max Dance.
All right. Yeah, a lot of great questions, guys. I'm pretty behind on chat, but I'm doing my best to answer every question that we can in the time that we have. So Cole PvP asks, would it be worth it to create a full party of level 30 players to farm these dungeons? Would it be worth it? That's a great question. I think it depends on the rewards that you personally want to get. Of course, there are the
Nice, Digga.
Pearson cards, which definitely could be worth it. At any level, even a D tier card does give you some value. It's better than not having a card in your weapon or shield at all. So it could be worth it to farm the cards to sell or to use yourself. Of course, we also just talked about the cosmetics. So I would say if you do have a low level character and you have friends who would want to do it with you, oh, poor Jan. You can see he dropped his PK chips again.
Immerhin wird auf den Chat
it's-
eingegangen. Ah.
This,
Oh,
that as
so
well.
good.
Weil es endlich Bluki managt und nicht Piccolo, Digga.
We're
Piccolo ist
getting
so
close
lost,
to
Mann.
the end, guys. And so far, we have done this in almost 30 minutes with an 8-person group. So you can assume that with about 5 people, you'll probably
Trinkspiel.
take around the full
Oh mein
hour.
Gott, ich wäre schon durch, Freak, ne? Ich würde schon.
Awesome. So,
Kommt
to
hier.
continue answering that question, there are
So
the
scharf ist er.
cosmetics.
Na,
so,
nur,
for,
in
in theory, if you
Sriracha-Soße,
wanted a
aber jetzt
specific
kein
cosmetic
One-Chip
from a
oder so.
specific dungeon, it would probably be valuable to have a character in that range for you to go and try to farm that. Awesome. So, someone's asking about the giveaway. Our Twitch and YouTube moderators are going to be handling the letters today. Have we had? Oh, here we go, guys. Our second and final mid boss of the dungeon. And for our moderators in our Twitch and YouTube chat, if you haven't already began the giveaway with the letters, definitely go ahead and start now. In fact, maybe you can do a few letters so we're not too far behind on the giveaway. Thank you.
Vielleicht stirbt er in Rage.
Well, I can already
Aber
give
warum
it
stirbt er
started.
nicht, wenn er in dem roten Kreis war? Er war in dem roten Kreis, warum kriegt er keinen Schaden schon wieder? Was soll das?
Thank you, Piccolo. And Piccolo,
Sind die
great
noch
job
verbuggt,
taking
dass
that.
die Mechanik
All right,
nicht
guys,
funktioniert?
we're not going to be doing the final boss today, but you can see a little sneak peek of what's to come. He's lurking over there. You can see what weapon he has. It's the same one that Cameron
Ja, man
has.
sieht gar
Lots
nichts,
of fun
Digga.
stuff. But
Piccolo so lost.
we're going to keep a few secrets for the dungeon for next time. Now, you guys may hear from Piccolo's stream that there is special music for when the boss spawns. So lots of fun new additions like that to enjoy in these dungeons.
Digga, safe rennst du da
Awesome.
alleine durch.
Well, we managed to do it, guys. How do you
Plus
feel?
18er, 17er, 16er Buffs auf dem 30er Charm
I
mit
feel
einem plus 8er
tired.
Set und ein bisschen,
Tired.
bisschen Sockel und
Yeah, I
Upgrade.
gotta say,
Great first run.
huge thank you to our assists.
Kidding.
Du
I
kannst
feel
ja,
like I got carried a little bit.
du kannst ja auch noch ein Pet machen, ne? Ein Level 30er Pet, ich weiß nicht, was ist das denn? B-Pet, glaube ich. A, S ist 60, A 45, B, glaube ich, 30. Also rein theoretisch würde es sich finanziell lohnen, der Aufwand, ne? Was ich nicht glaube, weil die höheren Dungeon besser droppen, dadurch, das scheinen alle 5 nur so einheitlich zu droppen. Die 5 Dungeons geben alle eine unterschiedliche Chance.
You will farm the weapon piercing cards from dungeons.
Genau, die Waffen-Piercing-Karten, die wir alle haben wollen, bekommen wir alle von den 5 Dungeons. Umso höher das Level der Dungeons, umso besser wahrscheinlich die Droprate. Plus jeder einzelne hat noch.
Honestly, guys, you guys are doing a great job with all the questions.
Oh yeah, what we might can say is that this
Ja,
dungeon is not
also,
complete as it
weiß ich
is
nicht,
right now.
ob der so nutzvoll ist, außer für die Skins.
Inside, as soon the dungeon will be on the live server, so there are special treasure boxes and more to discover for them.
Absolutely. Lots more surprises for sure. One thing that we did not show today, there
Jetzt
are
muss ich jetzt
brand
Leren
new
eintippen.
quest lines as well for every single dungeon here in the expansion. So you can look forward to having some new quests to help level up in these level ranges, as well as getting some great new item rewards from those quests as well. So for those of you who really enjoy the questing experience, dozens and dozens of new quests have been added to help support this update.
Yeah, I know. I heard already that my mic is low. Last time it was low, today it's too low. It is actually the still mic.
Womit hat er sich jetzt 2 Wochen vorbereitet eigentlich? Was hat er jetzt 2 Wochen gemacht? Ja, wahrscheinlich einmal bei ihm am PC mit den Reglern rumgespielt. Ah ja, jetzt ist gut. Jetzt mit Absicht so leise. Ist vielleicht auch nicht.
Yeah, the first stream is nearly over.
Nämlich.
The second part will start in a few minutes when we are on the Totemir server, where we have our little yeah, let's not call it
Ach, wegen deinem Video.
question and answers.
Hat sich nicht dazu geäußert, ne? Aber
let's call it a little party with you guys.
ich bin auch kein offizieller Streamer. Was mit dem Final Boss machen sie nicht.
Awesome. Always looking forward to a little Piccolo party. Definitely excited for the invasion today. Once again, if you guys didn't see the announcement, the invasion is going to be taking place on
Patrick.
Totemia, and Piccolo will announce where to meet up when it begins.
Yeah, I will. As soon we are all on the channel, so we have still place left until the players will come. It will not be on Totemia channel 1, that I already can say. So we go on another channel where we leave the vendors in peace.
All right, so you guys have a hint. Let's see if you can manage to find the spot.
Ich logge mich mal auch schon mal auf Totemia ein. Weil streamt er das jetzt,
Yeah, the
die
first one
Invasion,
is,
oder
first
nicht?
one is already guessed right. It is Leren, and actually the second word is already it's already has to guess as well. The full word is Leren Chasm. So everybody who has it right will be among the winners of the first giveaway.
Ich kann ja auch kein Englisch, ne?
Awesome. And just a reminder, guys, you can use the giveaway command to see what you can win. Today, we are giving away some upgrade packages, which are going to include 5 of each of S Protects, A Protects, G Protects, Power Dice, and 500 Aerons and Minerals. Lots to look forward to with that. So we did have another great set of questions. One was about potentially having some scaling so that higher levels could go into the lower level dungeons. I don't think we have anything to talk about on that specifically today, at least nothing that we can answer, but that sort of thing is being discussed, and you know, it's in our thoughts as we try to balance the future content. That's what I can say for now.
Ja, also, was hat er 2 Wochen lang
Another
gemacht?
great question. Can masters join their respective dungeons in their new level range? So I think the balancing for that as well is being considered. And once a decision has been made, I think I could probably let you guys know.
Ja, okay. Also,
Missing microphone.
Birding Invasion, let's go. Hey, you never know. Today we're doing on Totemia, but we could always have these invasions on another server as well. So keep your
Birding.
hopes up and it might just happen.
Er ist auf jeden Fall krass. Also Piccolos Performance ist wieder absolut unterirdisch. Ich verstehe immer noch nicht, warum nicht Blukis der Streamer ist so. Und er spricht sowieso.
If you guys have any more questions or I missed any questions, definitely feel free to repost it. And we'll answer the best
I don't get it.
that we can.
Was soll da jetzt laufen? Ich check gar nicht. Es soll wohl jetzt auf Totemia dann eine Invasion sein. Wenn nichts auf Boden kommt, dann schmeiße ich eine Bombe auf Gala. Also auf jeden Fall heute nicht. Heute ist erstmal Totemia,
No
vielleicht
Whiner
nächstes
has
Mal.
another good question. How about dungeon difficulty? Cool. So,
Ja.
what you saw
Genau.
today was the standard version of the dungeon. At the moment, you can expect there to be at least one difficulty for every dungeon, as you saw today. And at least in these starting dungeons, you can expect the mechanics to probably be a bit simpler. Things like small telegraphed attacks that you need to avoid, but nothing overly complex that a newer player wouldn't be able to adapt to. However, as you go higher in level and higher in the dungeons, you may notice that the mechanics start to get more and more complex and will require significantly more skill than what you may have seen in the last level bracket.
Okay.
Happy Chicken Feet asks, do boss and monster attack and HP adjust based on player equipment? Currently, they do not. So currently, they are based on the level of the dungeon. So for instance, the max level of the Leren Chasm is level 30, which means that this dungeon is balanced around a group between level 20 and 30. But balancing will continue to be tested and updated as we try things in the test server as well. Muddy asks, what about the drop rate? Is it the same on every level, or do you drop less on low level or nothing after leveling up inside? So just in general for the game, something to keep in mind with drop rate is that if you are below the level of the monster, you always have the maximum drop rate. So if you're level 16, if you're level 20, if you're level 25, and the monster you're fighting is level 30, you will always have 100% drop rate unless you are more than 16 levels apart. So, if you're 16 levels or lower than the monster, then you'll have no drop rate. But you never get penalized for being lower than the monster until you have that, a really, really big gap. The drop rate does decrease slightly the higher level you are from the monsters. So for instance, if you are fighting a level 30 monster in the dungeon and you level to 31, I don't think there is a drop penalty one level apart. It's only once you start to be 2 levels apart. Hopefully that helps.